I believe our biggest expense in life is not having access to the right wisdom, the right knowledge, the right mentors in a world filled with opportunity with the internet. It's never been smaller, but it's hard to know who to trust. And my goal is always to get the wisdom from the people who have it to the people who need it. I have a collective community called Grow Getters Only. I'm giving you some of the behind the scenes footage from that community. You'll hear it. We've got Anthony Trucks. He was a guest on the show. That link is in the show notes or the description. Brilliant mindset coach, brilliant man. And this is behind the scenes, basically ask me anything he did for Grow Getters Only. If you're interested in that, it's $1, growgettersonly.com, dollar to join for 30 days, growgettersonly.com. But enough of that. I want to give you this knowledge, give you this wisdom, see what we're doing behind the scenes, and here we go.
You're listening to the Real Business Connections Network. Real Business Connections Network. Powered by Balbert Marketing, LLC. Subscribe now and check us out at realbusinessconnections.com. Enjoy the show.
Our guest today, I've sent the YouTube video, I've sent the website, but if you didn't view it, he is a ex-NFL player, America Ninja Warrior. But more than anything, when it comes to mindset, I know I've struggled with this where I just want like results now. And it takes a lot of work behind the scenes to make the results actually possible. And I don't think anyone is more qualified to talk about this kind of stuff. So Anthony, man, what did we miss? Feel free to introduce yourself.
Oh, well, hey, everybody. My name is Anthony. I'm excited just hanging out with people who actually are doing things. Nermeen apparently is like the queen of the day. So go, Nermeen. I don't know what else you do, but, keep doing that because it sounds great. I'm just enjoying my Tuesday, folks. I've had a very interesting, fast-paced one, and this thing doesn't end until like 6 p.m. and it started at 6 a.m. I don't know why it happened to be. But with that, I'm excited to chat with you guys because I love doing what I do. And my whole thing is I want to give you guys something cool that you can take and apply now. I have nothing to sell you. I'm just here to hang out. I got a cool ask from a guy, Mr. Ben's like, hey, you want to come talk to my group? I was like, yeah, I'm just come talk to the group. Because I think that if you have something you love to give to the world, the world loves you give it, like do more of that. So yeah, man, I don't have anything special. I think we're going to do half of me and maybe less than half of me kind of just sharing with you guys what it is I do and give you guys some cool takeaways. And then from that, I do really well when there's like groups like this of Q&A. Like I think the ability for you guys to ask questions and dive into some things. And I am a very teaching centric human. So I did play professional sports, but I'm not the dumb jock. Promise you that. I've spent a lot of years learning how to codify things I've gone through and then make it teachable. And it's been a blast to do so. In fact, I'm actually heading out this Sunday to go speak for Tony Robbins at one of his virtual events, that big Palm Beach thing. So I do things at a really cool level. I work with Amazons and PayPals and T-Mobiles and Chick-fil-A's and all that fun stuff. But it's not because of sports, I promise. It's because I have something to give. The sports is a cool backup and cool stories, but it is not the wealth of my humanity. So yeah, I guess I've already rattled off a lot. I don't know, man. What are we going to do now? You just hang out? What should I do? You tell me.
Well, you have a concept called dark work.
Mm-hmm.
What's that mean?
Oh, dark work. Simple, guys. It's the work you do in the dark that allows you to shine in the light. It's at a simplistic level, but here's what it really is. It's how you optimize your identity for peak performance. All of us have things we want to get done. You're not here just because you're bored. You're here because you want to do something bigger, grander, more amazing in the world. And I believe that those are things that are achieved through what you do when no one's watching. And not only does it allow you to get the achievement, it transforms who you are. I believe that what you create, the process creates you, right? There's a journey you have to go through to where when you get to that thing, you're not the same person who arrives at that destination that you were when you started out. And I want people to have what's called a dominator's identity. What it means is to govern and control, to dominate. But I want you to govern and control anything. It could be dominating your meditation routine in the morning, right? How do I show up and govern and control the situations in life that I planned for and didn't plan for? But here's the big key. When you have done this work in the dark and you've what I call shifted your identity in the right way, you will show up to defining moments with a very clean, almost unspoken mentality, which is, I have done too much work in the dark to lose in the light. That's what I deliver to people. It's that sense of, I got this. No matter what it is, there's going to be inevitable problems, but you bring you to your problems. And so it's through dark work. There's a process to it. Happy to unpack more of it if it helps you guys. But it's not just a thought or an idea. It's like a way you do things to where you will show up at one point in your life in the future and go, I not only have got this thing, but I'm the kind of person that has this thing, because I don't believe you can attain or sustain any goal, any vision in life above your current identity. As a definition for identity, just so we're on the same page, because I'm rattling things off to you. I know it's a fire hose. Your identity is who you are when you're not thinking about who you are. It's your natural habits, your patterns, your actions, your perceptions, just how you flow. And that actually creates a sense of thought. Thought creates the emotion creates the actions, which create your life. And so interestingly, this identity was not something we planned on programming. It just kind of happened over life, and it happens through experiences. It's things that you actually go through. If, for example, I have a dog, I have two dogs. I don't know if you guys have dogs, but if you're a person that grew up and as a kid, you got bitten by a dog, there's a different way that you are now wired neurologically and psychologically when a big dog walks in a room. If you're a person that got bit, you're like, I'm out the door, right? If you always grew up with big dogs and you loved them, you're like, oh, look, a big dog, right? The difference is just the experience. But you wouldn't in that moment think about all those things that happen. You just go, this is how I'm operating. And now there's a reaction and response. But think about how often that shows up in our day. It's every day and every moment. It's when the email comes across. It's when a call comes through. It's when something opportunity pops up, and you may not see it as an opportunity, but maybe I do, all based on experience. And so for me, I look at us and I go, we all have been wired, but we didn't think about it this way. It happens one of two ways. Either on demand, you chose it. It's something that you went after to get better, or when crap hit the fan. All of a sudden your back's against the wall and it's like, I got to figure this out. And then you do, and you go, oh, that was in me the whole time, right? Well, how do we actually proactively lean into going after things we want and realizing that it's less about the habits you choose, it's less about the destination you choose and just the habits, but thinking about who will the habits create. When I'm going through like there's great books, Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg, Atomic Habits by James Clear, Millionaire Success Habits, High Performance, amazing habits books. But they rarely talk about selecting habits based on who you'll become with them. And that's where the big thing for me is to step in and go, I'm not going to teach you a bunch about habits. There's some things that I've learned to make, that I talk about actionable, but really I'm like, how do you think through not just having something, but becoming the kind of person that has that thing? And that is through dark work. Long answer to a short question, but I figured I'd give you guys all of it because you're intelligent humans. So we're going to run you through some of that stuff there.
Rock and roll. Do you want to just do Q&A, Anthony? We'll make it a discussion.
I mean, Q&A is fun for me. Here's the thing. I like Q&A way more for groups like this than when I go, because I'll go on a stage and I'll talk 10,000 people for an hour, but you're not talking to me. I think the cool part about this intimate kind of setting is the fact that in this room, you guys can ask me questions and I can go back and forth. But I will tell you this. I've been doing this long enough to know how to answer questions for everybody. So it might be your question, but I'll answer it so everyone can grab something from it. And if in some point the question leads to like a how, I will talk to you about the hows in a structural way you can apply. So I'm not just going to give you a bunch of hyperbole and thoughts and ideas and my emotions, which is part of it. But I'm big on next day impact. What can I give you that'll be impactful tomorrow because you can act on it today?
And let's pause on that thought and think for a moment, guys. I don't know what you charge, Anthony, but you make a pretty penny for what you do. The fact we can ask any question and it can be personalized. Think about what you might want to ask here today. And does anyone have a quick question? You can raise your hand at any time. Go ahead, Ann. And then Darlene.
Just first a comment. I love that thinking about the habit, and I missed, but it basically based on your identity and who you want to become. And I think for me, I've been thinking about, as we age, we need to stay active and be moving. The tiny habit, I haven't started it yet, which is to just, do a small workout, have my husband show me how to use those clubs. But I love that that's a really good starting point. And then thinking about the habit that you're doing and what's the goal with that, right?
Yeah. And it's not just the goal, the achievement, but here's the thing. All of us will find something we're going to do. It's going to be hard. In the beginning, it's very hard to do. The goal is to make it hard not to do it. Like it's hard to go to sleep and not do that thing. It's just who I am now, right? And I used my degrees in kinesiology. I owned a gym for a decade. And so that whole fitness thing is an interesting tie to my life. And even now, I just got off the phone with my trainer. Like I have a degree in this. I used to train professional athletes, but I still hire someone because we're not really great at creating stuff for ourselves sometimes. And I need someone to keep me like on my toes. So yes, 100%. And I will even stretch your thought a little bit further, is you guys should not be going big, in my personal opinion. It's go really, really small in the biggest way humanly possible. Because the thing is when you grab at these big, humongous things, it's like a crash diet. I'm gonna get this thing going, and then you get all your energy expelled, and after a certain point, you're like, I don't do it anymore, and then you fall back. The yo-yo diet takes place. But if you can find something small and lean in, go there. And then the way that I give people like grace to do that is you don't create the goal by looking at other people. You set your own scale. Like I'm real big on like I have my own scale for everything. I like to be away from my house no more than 24 speeches a year. I could be in 100 stages. I don't like to do it. I'm in season of debt. I want to be home. Now my friends and my colleagues, like Ben's talking to, like I run in a really cool group. I'm in a mastermind group with like Dean Graciosi and Brendan Burchard and Ed Milet and Mel Robbins, amazing, humongous mind. That's just one of like group of 40 people. They all run at a different tick. And I don't care. I'm like, do your thing over there. I want to be home to pick my kid up from school. And that's just a different thing, but I set my own scale. So now the small thing I do is it's big for me, but I'm doing it consistently. And then it makes it easier and less stressful to live a really cool life on your own terms with your own freedom. So like with your husband teach you something, cool, do that. But also if you want to just do like, I don't know, you want to go out and skip rocks while jogging, do that. I don't care. Like, you know, you could do whatever the hell you want to do, as long as you're consistent in doing it. And it's easier if it's something you kind of enjoy doing, because on the days you don't want to do it, you can still muster what needs to be done to get it done. And then now you've done that hard thing and you're like, ooh, I feel good about myself. Because just so you guys know, the hardest things are the ones that give you the most pride. That's why the first rule of CrossFit is always talk about CrossFit. That's why ladies who have kids always talk about kids. It's sometimes the hardest thing they've done. It's so hard. And I have a deep respect because you did it. You're proud of it. You talk about it. So we got to actually do those things that are difficult and hard for the intention. And it's not found in the big muster. It's found in day 45 of 90, the small thing that's done consistently that actually gets hard at that moment in time.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Darlene.
Thank you so much for being here, Anthony. This is amazing. So I know you're talking about consistency and small habits and small decisions, which I agree with, but looking back, was there ever either a big event or an aha moment in your career where you're like, oh, this is about mind shifting and being able to, get your head wrapped around what you need to do versus the physicalities of being an athlete and that type of stuff?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, the majority of my life is non-physical. I mean, most of what I've done in my life that is of note for me is not the football field stuff. For everybody else, it goes like, oh, football player. And I get mentioned like that. Just, the first like 7 years of my career, I tried to run from the football thing because I'm like, everyone's going to see me as the football guy and not smart. But the majority of my stuff comes from those hard fought nights of I'm preparing for a speech and I don't want to bomb it, or I got this launch of a product coming up, or I got a podcast guest that I want to mess up, right? There's these little things that happen for sure. And it's in those moments where I find that we sometimes need the proof to show us that we're awesome. I had a conversation, an interview this morning, like, well, how do you get the belief? And I go, you do things without having belief at first. Like you just because every person that we know that has done something cool or amazing, like they didn't come out of the womb like that. They have hands and they have feet and they have eyes and they have hair. So do I. What's the difference? They just did different things. All right. So if I do different things, I get to the place they're at. But they don't start with this thing of they always believe they got it. They got to build into it and build the proof. So a lot of the things that I've experienced that have given me a sense of confidence are the non-physical. And a lot of it does come through, like for the most part, acting in directions where you don't feel super confident doing it. I have no idea at all if that answered your question. That's what my brain came up with in the moment. So I hope that helped in some way.
Tafiq, would you like to go?
Sure. Thank you. Hi, Anthony. Nice to meet you. Quick question. So as far as with everything that you've accomplished, what would you say has been like your most powerful and reliable tool for overcoming, I'm sure, the vast amount of limiting beliefs you've encountered and probably still encounter in your life?
To be honest, it's a releasing of the stress of the view of others is one big piece of it. And it's doing really hard things that I only know are hard when they are in front of me. So here's a part of my life that there's a lot you guys don't know. I'm realizing I don't know how much you guys have researched of me at all. But I have a whole interesting long journey of foster care and adopted an all-white family, very poor growing up. Played college football, high school football, obviously. Had a kid at 20 years old, met my real dad, played in the NFL, left the NFL, had a gym business that didn't do very well, but finally got a point to selling it, divorced my ex-wife because a whole bunch of crazy. We have 3 kids. 3 years later, my mom passed away, remarried my ex-wife. We have an amazing marriage now. I get to travel the world and do cool things. Ben alluded to, I get paid $25,000 a keynote to work for amazing companies, and up to $50,000 a day just to go and drive in and just teach some things to companies and leadership. So I live in this really kind of cool space of life. The thing that I look at in terms of like how I guess I show up now. What was your question, real quick, so I make sure I answer the right question properly?
Sure, no worries, and thank you for sharing all that. As far as like all the limiting beliefs that I'm sure you have encountered, like how do you most reliably deal with those?
Yep. So the thing for me is I look at a lot of things as the future of where I want to be. And it's always different than everybody else's. But I definitely can now detach from the thought of what everybody else is going to judge me as. And that's one of the harder things. I think Gary Vee talks a lot to this. And we act like, it's not a big deal. But we are human beings that are built with the tribe mentality. We like to be part of a tribe, part of a group. So this is the whole community, right? One of the biggest fears of being cast out from the tribe. There's like this fear of like, if I'm not cool with these people and I get removed, like, where am I going to go? And I think I'm by myself. And I want to enter a new group and elevate. But there's this fear. And so the limiting beliefs I have usually aren't, can I do it? It's what's going to happen when I do. I don't, if you really get to the gut of it, I don't think people genuinely believe it's not going to work out. They just think that based on who they know themselves to be, they're probably not going to get there. That's due to, and so I go, well, I know that I have the power to completely shift who I am. So when it comes to the limiting beliefs, I ask myself, because most of us go like, well, this is imposter syndrome. I don't think I should do it. I don't know if I'm good enough for it. I haven't done this yet. And I go, 100% that should exist. Good. You're human. Because you haven't done this thing. Like, why would you think you're going to be an amazing podcaster if you haven't done a single podcast? You'd be a psychopath right now if you thought that. Now, do you think that over 100 episodes you get better? Yeah? Okay. Well, let's just do 100 episodes. Well, that's a lot of episodes. All right. Let's just do one. What would you do to do one? And so I take everything down to the most minuscule action to where I can lean into something and go, I am not going to identify with the outcome. I'm going to identify with the effort. And so when I have things I want to step into, because you're right, like I want to step into different stages of what I do for my work. I want to elevate my actual brand. I do want to be able to get paid more on the stages. I got friends that make $150,000 a keynote. So I'm like 25,000 of them is nothing, right? So I'm like, how do I get to that level? It's a lot of things that will take some steps to get there. And so for me, I look at that and go, gosh, a lot. But I go, all right, what does day one look like? And then I just plan for day one. And then day one, here's what I always know is day one provides me with insights that I would never get unless I took action on day one, which informs me of day two. When I look at me versus day 100, it's like, I have no idea how I'm going to get there. Of course, you find it out as you go. It's kind of like when you walk through a forest, your flashlight goes 10 feet in, not across the entire forest. If I could see 10 feet, let me take a step. It'll push me 1 foot forward and 1 foot forward. So I just take steps. I just look at things and I go in. But here's also the part that makes all that possible, which all of you here definitely have, is you have already done stuff like this. Right? You're a human being. You guys are all who have done these kind of things. We sometimes lose sight of the great things we've done and the fact that we know how to take steps. We know how to move forward. We know how to do things and figure it out as we go. And so if you lean on the fact that you've already got this muscle somewhere, just flex it in a new direction, you're more apt to take on the next challenge. But here's a part of that that's actually a little bit of a caveat that's difficult. The higher up that people climb on the totem pole and they identify as this great person, the less apt that they are to take on new things that might diminish from their sense of awesome. I call it a defender identity. It's an undefeated boxer who's worried about taking the next fight on. So when we circle back to the same, I guess, question you asked, the limiting belief for me is not a limit of whether I think I can do it. It's can I lean in and get this done? And will I do the work? And then also sometimes it's like, will it make me look bad? Will I lose a sense of self? And that's how it helped me in a sense of removing the care from myself of what somebody else views me as and goes, I identify with the effort, not the outcome. So if you come and go, Ed, you're a great speaker, but you absolutely sucked at this thing you did, I go, great, I'm learning. That's how I got to that level. And I can identify with that. So little by little, it gave me a sense to go and do new things. And I still do this. It's just a matter of stepping into stuff with an understanding of who I am, which is I'm a guy that works. I'm a guy that does the time. I'm a dark work human. I'm going to do the work. It's not about the outcome. It's about what am I doing in the work of it all today that eliminates over time the lack of belief. Because now if I do it long enough, you have proof that you can.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, welcome.
Adrian Bray.
You got to get to be the guy because I see hands go up. I don't know who's first. I don't want to mess it up. So I'm going to let Ben do that.
Yeah, it's Adrian Bray.
There you go.
Hey, Anthony. As you can gather, I've got a slightly different accent, and we live down the road from each other. I now live in Livermore.
But, I'm in Concord, man, down the street.
There we go. So hop, skip, and jump.
Literally.
Yeah. I've got a question. I want to go back to the word small.
Yeah.
And certainly in the dark word, because it's a great word. And I get it's relative to self, if you self-scale. But I would love to hear more about examples of the small world, if you like, to gain momentum. To me, that's what I hear is about gaining that momentum as opposed to trying to do.
Yeah. So we have this thing that's called investment bias as humans. And the more we give to something, the more return we desire. So like if I give to something, money wise, I want to return on my money. If I give to something effort, energy wise, I want to return. The return usually comes in confidence, self-esteem, and pride, that kind of thing. But it doesn't come from a single drop in one day, like a big push. It's the small thing. And so here's the thing, just keep in mind when I say small, I don't mean small in the grand scheme. I mean small in the immediate scheme. So when I say I'm going to do something small in a big way, the goal isn't for me to get this like thing where I go, I'm just going to go small and timid and not make it scary for myself. I go, no, that thing should make your butt pucker. It should be uncomfortable, but it's a small thing. It may be 10 minutes today, 20 minutes. It may be one phone call you've been avoiding to make because you don't know if you're going to get rejected, right? But it's a small thing. And what I pick as my small things are deconstructed from a big thing. So what we do is we call design your dark. So in the process of dark work, I look at what's called respecting the light, which is like vision planning and being clear on what it is I want, how hard it's going to be, researching people that have that thing, what are the traits they have. There's some work done there. We call it roots and fruits. And then now I have this idea of what it looks like. Then I go and it's called designing my dark. And in that process, we do what's called action mapping. I go, hey, here's the thing that I want. Let me map back the actions to the smallest common denominator so I can put them in my calendar. Because the problem for most people is we go, I want to do this one thing. I'm going to clear up my schedule on Friday. I'm going to get this thing going. And then Friday comes, you dive into it and you find there's 70 steps before the step you want to be at. And it gets daunting. You go, God, I got so much to do. I'm there. So you keep pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it off. And I go, well, maybe that first day you should have spent 5 hours mapping it. What are the actual steps? Like as an example, someone brought up fitness earlier. I used to have the gym, right? And one of the things people would do is like, I'm going to get in shape. And they go and I don't know, they all just start working out and they don't plan at all. And so 2 weeks in, like they're burnt out, their body hurts, they feel like they're out of whack. And this even happens. They get memberships. They walk into a gym and they have no idea what machine to use, how many reps, how many sets. So the thought of going to the gym becomes daunting because like, I don't want to feel like an idiot when I walk in there with my towel and my gym shorts. So I go, let's plan it all out. What's your goal? We figure out the goals. All right, cool. What do you want to do for workouts? I'm gonna get a gym membership. Why? Is the gym membership going to help you? What if your goal is to run a marathon? Do you need a treadmill and like a whole bunch of equipment you're not going to use in a sauna with some big dude in there sweating? You probably don't, right? You just got to go run. So let's go get you some stinking shoes, right? And find a road. Like it's, if you think about it and you plan it down, then it's like, all right, cool. So on Monday, I'm going to go to the store and have somebody fit my shoes. Right? I'm going to go to the store again. Then I'm going to go the next day. I'm going to find a Facebook group of people that run nearby me. All right, cool. And then you find the group of people. You do these little things. And then at some point it goes, all right, Tuesday, 7:00, my first run. And I'm not going to shoot to be who I was when I was 20 because I'm not 20 anymore. Or I'm not going to shoot to set some record. I'm just going to go out and run just to see what running, you ease into the stinking thing. And what happens is a small thing is progressing towards your Ironman or your marathon, right? But if I track it backwards properly, it makes it to where the idea of the language we've heard is the best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. You actually are pretty much carving out the bites. But most people go, oh yeah, one bite at a time. And you show up and go, where's the first bite? It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's just too much. So what I look at it as the small thing, it should be tracked back from the larger thing, which will present to you specific actions that you're supposed to, big actions here and there, but also habitual things that must be done daily. And now they can be calendared, put into, say, I'm gonna do it 5:00 each day or 6:00 each day, whatever it is. And now what happens is there's less of a situation where I'm gonna avoid it. It's there. All I gotta do is at 5:00 when it says it, do it. And then you do it. And then it's done in 10 minutes or 5 minutes or an hour, whatever it is. And the more you do that, the easier it becomes. Because we get more efficient, we get more effective, we feel more confident. Little by little, you start having like the brain, that dopamine dump hits because you're never getting closer to it. And now it becomes actually, in fact, a funner thing to do. Most people, the fitness part's an easy one because we all have a connection to that in some manner. The thought of working out, like, oh, it's gonna be painful. It's gonna take so long to get a result, and we're all in the future. It's like, well, just go today. What do you got to do today? All right, 30 minutes of a walk or 30 minutes, just do that. And then you do that. And then you stop thinking about it. You show up tomorrow and do it again. And you stop thinking about it. And then little by little, you've done it for 6 months, and you're all of a sudden, you're in the most amazing shape you've ever been in. But it wasn't a mental haul anymore. You did the think in the beginning. Now you take the thinking out and you just act. That's what most people don't do very well, is they don't do the thinking up front, which is the bigger kind of, I find, issue with most. Is the hard part is not just doing the thing, but it's doing the thing and thinking about what I should be doing. And so for me, I go think about it in the beginning, get it clear, organize everything, and then get into what you already do best, which is work. All of us here, if I sat you down and said, hey, I know you're intelligent, I need this one thing done in the next 30 minutes, everything would clear out, you'd be laser focused, you'd get that thing done. The hard part is, well, what's that thing? And is the right thing? And should I do that thing? Should I be doing something else? What about the other thing I wanted to get done? Right? And because we don't do that, we don't get into the small actions, which never turn to the big actions.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Amazing. Jane, you're up next.
Forgot my hand was up. I'm like, I can't write fast enough. Oh my God. I don't even remember why I put my hand up, but
it's crazy.
Everything you're saying, and this is only Tuesday, but these messages are coming from every direction. Yesterday, I just want to read you this quote. Dave Mamano did it, and unfortunately, he's not here today. And it was something he put on LinkedIn that said, don't let anyone tell you what you can't do. Prove to them that you can't do it. And I thought, oh, that's a twist. Okay. But this morning, I was put in a situation, and this is where I think I was thinking about your identify with the effort, not the outcome. I was put in a situation with very little time, and went in. I did a great presentation for what I do. I really did a great presentation, but all the little stuff around it that I didn't think to ask because I was thrown in at the last minute. There were no tables. These guys couldn't sit and write out a contract if they wanted. I didn't bring clipboards because somebody told me there were tables, right? They were standing, not sitting. It was like all these little things.
All the place.
But I walked away going, and now that you said that, it's like, man, I put in some good effort, but part of me should have known better. And I'm trying to meet, but I love everything you've said is, sit back and look at this situation. What could I have done differently? What should I have? I've been with the company for 16 years.
Yeah. You stumbled on a concept that I talk to a lot when this whole journey takes place. Because all of us, it sounds good in a vacuum of like, do this, it's gonna be great. No, it's not. It's gonna suck a lot, right? But here's what happens is you try it, and at first you're like, that wasn't good, and you're like, that's a 10 of 10 of pain. And most people will have that, and then will subconsciously go, well, I don't want to experience that again. What do? I can do one of two things. One, I can make a really good excuse to never do that again. And people would believe you. It's all over the place. No one's prepared. Like, I don't want to do it again. It's like, all right, no one's going to argue that for you. Or you go, but I want to be great at this. So what can I extract from this situation to try it again? And most people go, what are you, masochistic? You sucked it. Why would you try it again? What are you talking about? Try it again. You go, yeah, I'm going to try it again. And 90% of people just wouldn't try it again. But you do. And then next time you do it, it's a 9 out of 10 of pain, like in terms of like, I didn't do well. And then most people again would cut out, but you go, no, I'm gonna stay in. So again, that, small percentage stays. And little by little, it goes down and down to where you become so effective and efficient at it that it gets to 0. It's painless, but it's not actually painless. It's joy. The fact that you could do this thing proficient, you love it. And there's a sweet spot for all of us of, I now have something I love to do that people love that I do, but you earned that. And so you earn it by doing what you just talked to, which is I do it. It sucked. No, it wasn't very good. You do it again. The best thing for me that taught me this was sports. When I played football, I can go out there and run full speed, and I go into a room with a coach and a video film, and he goes, look at what you messed up. You did this horribly. It's like, oh, a shot to the heart, right? And you go out there and do it again. And little by little over the years, you get better. And after a while where there was a fear of the film or a fear of looking bad, you're like, hey, watch play number 7. I killed that dude, right? And so there's a joy behind it. I can't wait to put a helmet on and run because I've got so effective and efficient. I earned the right to have that I can't wait to go do it again. So in the step of what you're at right now, you may go, I should have known better. Yeah, obviously, the first time you did it, possibly, then why would you know better? There's, it's like you have to be in that container, that environment to be able to be subjected to the lessons. And now you have lessons. That other part of it is cool. that'll apply itself to somewhere else that you can't see right now. There's something coming in the pipeline the next year that this situation it was gold for, but you don't see it yet. But if you didn't actually put yourself in a position you are now, you either wouldn't have the future opportunity or you wouldn't be able to capitalize on it properly.
Okay, so to piggyback on that, you got me thinking. Adrienne and I were talking, and last week I brought up to the group this small course that I'm putting together on getting ready for video. A lot of people have objections to getting in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And it just made me think about almost mapping out the small steps that people can take in a tiny habit type of situation, kind of looking at it from a different perspective. And it just got me thinking that some of the work initially is very private. You don't need to, there are people who say, do a video a day and post it. Well, no, you don't have to do that. But you can take, like you said, get the shoes, join a Facebook group. There's little things that people can do. And it's almost privately. And then the idea, like you said, with, be your own scale or have your own scale. Then at a certain point, somebody's video is going to be judged. They're going to put it out there and it will be judged by others. But do you have anything, have you thought about it that way? Do you have any perspective on the private, then it becomes public once you get ready?
Yeah, ton of it. So I did this thing. I don't know why I did it. It's called a nightly 90. If you go to YouTube, these are still up. 1,333 straight days of posting a 90-second video to learn how to speak extemporaneously like I'm doing now, but to formulate thought in flow. So I'd grab something from the room as a random thing that was just there, and I'd make a whole life lesson. And I think twofold. One, I do believe that, yes, a lot of it you can do by yourself behind the scenes. You can record yourself and film it. But I find that the world is going to be the one that helps you perfect it. But also you mentioned the audience, the eyes. When I first did this, I think the first 350 videos, I might have had at most 15 views a day. And so while we go like it's private, 15 views is still pretty private. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a lot of people. And I wanted to be in front of thousands someday, millions someday. But when I get to that moment, I want to be prepared for them. And I need those reps that are still kind of private, but somewhat public. Because me posting it doesn't mean the world sees it. Like, it means some part of the world, a small segment. So I go, if I want to have thousands, millions later, I got to get okay with putting this out. And this is where they identify with the effort's the issue. Because believe me, I got some critical feedback on those first videos. That's just the nature of it. But now I go, okay, great. They're not attacking my humanity. They're just attacking the skill set I'm developing, which obviously I'm developing. So, okay, cool. Thanks for the feedback. And I keep on moving. And the world's full of trolls, which is what it is. But yes, what you're talking to is what I actually experience and have taught people is the idea is to get into the flow of the actions of doing it. And that's how you get efficient at doing it. Our brain is actually not designed to optimize, it's designed to adapt. It's what we do. And so adaptation is a big thing. I want to put my brain into a position to start doing. So if I don't do a thing, the brain has nothing to adapt to. But if I do it, even if it's out to the world and posting it and getting crazy feedback, I can now take the feedback and adapt to it to get better and better and better over time. So cadence of speech, like even talking, like you may not notice this, but I know that I'm right now talking to my camera. You're down here. But I've learned that when I talk through camera and I'm talking to a group like this, there's a personal connection you get when I do this as opposed to doing this. And so like I've thought about that. I've done that. It's repetitions. I wouldn't know unless I did it with people and had somebody go, hey, whenever you're talking, you're always looking down. Oh, that's true, right? So these little things that I had to put into the world, but if I hadn't done that prior, I wouldn't be able to do it now, right? So it's something where you got to go out and do the repetitions. Even now, I do a daily podcast. Today was episode 957 straight weekdays of a 5 to 7 minute just video to the camera, just like this and talking. And the thing is I stacked the days. When I started this, I had no intention of going this long, but I'm still here. And I'm like, we're almost at 1,000. That's a couple of years of doing this. And the reality is I just started it, not knowing if it'd be good, how it would look, how it'd come across. And the action of doing it makes it easier. But you will start out. And sometimes we talk about the video stuff. Yeah, just doing it for yourself at first. If you feel comfortable posting the first one, that's fine. Because even if no one's watching to break down how you're delivering it, you could be doing it for yourself just to figure out, am I not saying ums and ahs? Am I formulating a decent thought? Did I was able to think of what I wanted to talk about and it came out the way that I want to come out, or did I miss some points? And a lot of it for me is trying to, when I do scripted kind of videos, we'll call it bullet points, I'm trying to hold the concepts in my head visually and then talk to them as I'm going through my spiel. And that took repetition. Like that was something where I didn't have to put it live, just me hit record and go. and then just make sure I can get everything without having to look at my notes to the side. Like that took practice, right? But then after time, I get good at it. Like I know how to put it in my brain. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, cool. Let's rock. And then I could talk through it. And then now I'm like, okay, good. That's ready to be able to give to the world. Like for when I do speeches, I do a pre-event video, like a 60-second pre-event video. And I tell the client, I go, hey, send me the bullet points you want me to cover in the speech. And so now what I can do is get the bullet points. I look at them on a sheet of paper. Let's go. And I just talk, and those things come out as they're supposed to. They're not scripted by any means. And I even tell them that. I said, don't give me a script. I'll never read it. But give me the bullet points to cover. It'll flow as it's supposed to. But from practice, I can hold it and go. But it's because it took a lot of reps behind the scenes.
I want to quickly give you guys a quick, first off, amazing as always, Ann. But Ken, you're up next. Super quick exercise I loved. I learned it from a friend of mine, Brendan Kumarasamy. He calls it the random word exercise, or I think he calls it the one word exercise. I actually share this link. I use random word generator. It'll give you a word. You write a 60-second keynote based on that word. Now you can worry about structure and all that later. This can be private, but 60 seconds, you can do 10 in a row, but 60 seconds a day, you write a keynote around that one word where you're going to be in 30 days. So that's a fun exercise I did that really helped me. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? And we'll pass it to Ken.
Anything of doing that. That's why my whole thing is dark work. There's so people like to go and just start doing the thing in front of the light without having prepared for it properly in the past, because there's something around the desire for immediate gratification that we, even though we know it exists and is bad, we can't shake it. We want the thing now. And so for me, I love this concept because I go, I'm just going to be the person that does the work, not tries to get past the work. And when you submit to the work, and when I say submit, this is a very specific word that I chose there. It is also a word that I want you guys to feel, because to submit goes, I'm going to accept this difficulty of what this is, and I'm going to embrace it almost. So I submit to it, I embrace it. And then you're more apt to do it. And then you start seeking a little bit of joy within it. But yes, like there is nothing that I could say in words that will ever teach you what you need to know from taking the actual rep. It's like if I sat here for the next 24 hours and walked you through every specific thing of how to swing a baseball bat to hit a home run, there's going to be a complete separation from that and you sitting at the plate, hands on a bat, feet dug in, trying to hit a baseball. Right. It's the repetitions that you really have to take to get great at that thing. And then at a certain point in time, the coaching points will make more sense. But most people go, give me the coaching points. I'm gonna start going now. And it's like, just do the stuff. Just do it ugly. Just literally just do it ugly and sucky, because the client that'll see you a year from now doesn't know you right now. The client you're going to have, the person you're going to meet a year from now, they don't even know you exist. Like I guarantee, there's people in this room had no idea that I existed. So all of a sudden I'm here, right? And I just the time leading up, I was preparing. I don't know I was preparing for you, but I was, right? And so for me, I take the reps. So when I do show up to the moment, I'm ready. I'm not worried about it. But it's the work behind the scenes, like the quiet, small, in your car, just driving your car and talking like this word generator thing. Cool. Bring a simple word up, and then in the car driving, be the weirdo in your car talking to yourself. What if somebody looks at me and they're never going to see you again? It's in passing. But that repetition I can't take from you. And it develops that cool skill, but also a pure confidence in your ability to deploy that skill in the world.
So I'm not sure if I have a question in here so much as I wanted to say I love the concept of the dark work. It sounded, as soon as you started talking about it, it's like, oh yeah, that's what your coaches tell you. You know, you got to put in the practice on the practice field, all the hard work on the practice field. So when it comes to game day, it's easy, right? Mm-hmm. That's the concept. And a lot of we've been a group for quite a while, and so we've learned over the time a lot of people on here are musicians, right? And so a lot of musicians know when Ann was talking about private, you would never go play guitar in front of people the first day you picked up a guitar or the piano, for example. You might show somebody that you're really excited that you just learned how to play chopsticks, but you're not going to get out in front of, your whole school or in front of a concert audience, right? So I thought it was really interesting how people are grasping at different places, but it brings me to this concept is any of us that have achieved anything in life probably have put dark work in somewhere, right? So we know what dark work looks like. And I think it can be actually an impediment sometimes if you don't get into the art of practicing habits like you're teaching here. That this dark work you've done in the past to get really good at something, like let's say the 10,000 hours you're supposed to put in to be a good musician, for example, you might not want to put the 10,000 hours in to be I don't know, somebody who built birdhouses, but you really want to build birdhouses. You can build great birdhouses with 1,000 hours, maybe. They're just not going to be a craftsman of 10,000 hours, right? So you got to bit. You said it earlier. What is it that you want to become at the end? If you're not looking to be a master craftsman, you don't have to go think about all of the work you put in your life's work and your 40, 50 years of career and trying to cram it into your next project. You can be thinking of, well, I might not be that person in that direction, but I want to still do birdhouses or learn guitar, right? Maybe you don't know how to learn guitar and you want to learn tomorrow. You got to start by practicing, and you got to practice the next day, and you got to practice the next day, and you string it together until you have a habit, and next thing you know, you're playing some songs.
Yeah. Until you feel okay with what you're thinking. That's why earlier I said you got to set your own scale. If I set your own scale, it's talking to what you're talking about is I'm just going to do whatever I want to do, and I'm not going to be influenced by anybody else telling me what they think I should do. It really becomes a thing. Now, I have people in my life that I will enlist and go, hey, I got this idea. Shit. Meaning I want something that challenges me so I feel it was worthy of my time. And sometimes I won't press myself there. But at a certain point in time, like there is a level of what I want to do. And the hard part is if I do things in this world we live in now, there's always going to be something that someone can come in and go, oh, but you didn't do that. And then it robs me of the energy and the positive joy I had around doing that thing. So I think you do have to say, like, what do you want that to be? Like, if you want to be a musician that only plays for yourself, cool, let's do that. But be okay with that. When someone comes, you should start a band. No, I shouldn't start a band. But you're so good. I'm glad you think I'm good. You think I should. That's not my intention, though. I just want to have fun and when I'm at the party, whatever you choose. But then if you can hold fast to that and not feel like, oh man, should I? But what if I don't? But then should I? No, I don't care what your thought is. Like this works for me. And so then you spend. Here's what I think we have to do. We have to spend curious energy on something, and it flows smooth. And here's what I mean by curious energy. If you think about someone telling you, you should do this, well, how long? You got to get 1,000 hours, right? All right. You're counting 1,000 hours. Every hour that ticks by, you're counting it. Curious energy, time slides by. You're curious about it. You're Googling things. You're figuring out what it is. You're having fun playing with it. What is this? Oh, that's a cool new chord. And so now you're in this like curious energy. And then because of this investment bias, invested hours and hours and hours. And the return on that is a little bit of confidence, some skill set. You feel proud about yourself. And then most people will continue doing that. And eventually they find like a purpose. It's like curiosity, time delivered, passion. Passion leads to a purpose. I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But most people aren't willing to give the curious energy first, or they aren't able to because they're not curious about it. Somebody else was. And so I choose things that I'm curious about that give me like, I want to try that. And I'll give that random energy to it. And then it's like, oh, should I spend all day doing that? It didn't drain me. I filled up. And then I've got this time spent. And again, it just progresses from there.
No one's on deck. First one to unmute and ask can go ahead. If not, I'll ask a question.
I have one.
Please.
Anthony, what would you say would be a great resource for a younger person? Maybe someone that's just out of high school. They're not sure exactly what they want to do, and you want to make sure that they're in the right mindset to get on the right track. And I'm thinking in the way of either a book or another resource online that, in addition to your own content.
Oh, yeah, it's a good one. One of the good books for me early on was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. For me, it was like tactical in a sense of like understanding how to just do some simple things that turn into some cool things later. So I recommend that book to a lot of people. I think Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning is a good book too, especially at that age, because it's like they're at this age where if you look at Erik Erikson's work, it's called identity versus role confusion, which is I have this identity I've developed. I kind of get the sense of who I am, but now I'm thrust into this world that I was protected from by my parents and the most society. I'm out in the world. What is my role? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And so there's a lot going on there. And there's no anchoring to like seeking a sense of meaning. So you have what's called that existential vacuum. This just bringing things in that don't fit. So it's why a lot of those kids are doing raves and they're off partying and they're crazy. And then you have like those couple select kids who are like, they're in their basements building some amazing technology and then they launch it and make millions. What was the difference? They found something that was meaningful to them. They weren't going to find that by going out and distracting themselves and doing a bunch of drugs and crazy and partying and drinking and it becomes something more of them giving, because I think those kids have ample time to give energy to something, but the return of it's like I wake up hungover. And so that idea of like the man's search for meaning, but also the 7 habits of effective people. When they start applying that, they realize, and if they can get this mentality, like they got a wealth of ability at an age that I never did. Like there wasn't like the connection to the internet. There wasn't this much information available. There wasn't as many minds I could access. If I can go back and like be 20 years old again with access to this, bro, I'd be a billionaire at some point probably, because there's just so much more information readily available. And I wouldn't have had, a whole bunch of family and the kids and all this kind of stuff. I got 3 kids. My oldest is going to be 20 this year. My twins are 15 in about a month. And there's like a lot of like, I love being a dad, but I was building something while being a dad, not being exposed to a lot of the world, right? But if I could have had like the access to the stuff now, like if I can be my son right now, this dude has access to me and then information and stuff I never would have had back then. And so if they can find something that it feels like it's meaningful to them, and they can understand how to like kind of navigate society, like, seek first understand, then be understood, little stuff like that. I feel like that becomes a good starting point to build from. And then here's one thing I tell all the kids, and this obviously is not going to land 100% in this group, but maybe it'll land for you guys later, is there were a lot of kids when I was playing football. I did focus on football that were out partying, hanging out. And it's like, I'm at the house party that smells like, I don't know, wet. It just smells wet. You know what I mean? Like the weird beer smell from beer pong. The floor is disgusting. It's like, look, you can spend your high school, college years doing that, or you can work to where, as opposed to like a wet, gross, stinky house party, you're in your 30s and 40s on a boat, and it's an ocean that's wet around you, and it's a yacht, and it's a beautiful thing because you've earned not just the income to have freedom and time to do this, but you've earned respect from great humans that allow you to be around them, where you guys are at a different echelon of life. But you don't get there by doing what they're doing at that age. You do certain things at that age to create that freedom earlier than most people get a chance to. And so I give my kids this lesson of like, you can go to the parties, all the ones you want, but what kind of parties do you want to go to when you're older? It's up to you.
Thank you. I could feel your meaning behind that. Thank you so much. That's really helpful.
Yeah, you're welcome. Are you like not fresh out of high school? Don't look like that.
I know my son is 21, and
Okay.
I've given him all the books, but I'm always looking for more. I gave for his college graduation, I gave him As a Man Thinketh, and all the
It's
how to win
hard,
friends
though.
and influence people, and Think and Grow Rich, and I'm like just trying to cram it all into his beautiful mind.
Yeah, here's what I've noticed. So I got a son in the same boat, and I'm dad. I actually hired Ben Newman recently to go talk to my son because, like, Ben, bro, I need you to talk to my boy because I love him. He loves me, but there's a certain way that I'm too close. And so what I've realized is sometimes our job is not to water, but just to plant the seed. And sometimes our job is not even to plant the seed, is to introduce them to someone that inspires us that can plant the seed. And so I have to sometimes remove myself from whatever's going on because I go, he's not an abrasive, rebellious kid at all. He's a great kid. But it's different to be like, okay, dad, and be like, I'm on it, dad. There's 2 different ways. And so for that same exact experience, I go, you know what? I need to introduce him to people that inspire me, that are smart people, that are not me, that lets him do that. Because also the part of it is when it's not our idea, we don't latch onto it as well. Like it's that whole, there's a video recently of this little girl going outside. She's like, I came downstairs. I was so excited. I was going to take the garbage out. Nobody asked me to. And I was getting towards the garbage and my dad goes, hey, can you take the garbage out? So now I'm taking the garbage out and I'm pissed because I was going to take it out anyways. But now that he asked me to, I don't want to do it. Right. And as simple as that is, that's a reality. Like when it's their idea, right? But when it's your idea, even if it's an amazing one, it's different in terms of the buy-in to it. So I would rather be introducing him to things that make it his idea. He can lean into it and go, hey, great choice, son. That's a great idea. Let me know where I can support you with that and do that. But when I try to give him these things, he's not taking them from me. Sucks.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm curious, anyone who hasn't asked, I see Darlene, you unmuted. You're next, unless anyone who hasn't asked a question because they're being shy wants to raise their hand and ask it right now. No pressure. I just wanted to open that up.
You haven't asked Ben?
I had him on my podcast. I want to leave it for you guys. Go ahead, Darlene.
So I was just curious because and I loved everything you said about like speaking into your own child's life. And sometimes when they hear it from someone else, I'm always amazed at when we say something just maybe off the cuff or something to someone, and years later they come back and like, remember when you said this to me, that kind of helped my trajectory or something like that. Was there people in your life that maybe made an off the cuff kind of remark to you or spoken to your life in a way that you didn't see yourself at that time that was like, oh, I can do that, or I never thought about?
100%. There wasn't a lot of them, but one that stands out is a guy named Tim Manley. He was like the yard duty, big dude. He used to ride around in his like the golf cart in high school. It was like my sophomore year. I'd just done a bunch of work. I was pretty good at football at this time. I just spent a whole offseason finally going from sucking to being good. And he sat me in his golf cart because I was messing around doing dumb stuff. He goes, look, I need to let you know this. He says, you know, the principal, I don't know why he talked to the principal. He goes, the principal thinks you're going to be an F up. He says, he doesn't think you're going to do anything. You're going to be nothing. He says, but I think based on seeing is I believe you could play in the NFL one day. And as the first person in my life that ever even like that thought came up, it hadn't even entered my thought before. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm a high school. That's my second year or third year playing football. Like NFL, what are you talking about? He goes, no, I've watched you play. I've been around the game long enough. He's like, you have some of the intangibles, the way you look, the way you function, like the way your physical ability is. Like you got the makings of what it could take to get there. And that seed gave me this like, wow, maybe it's possible. But it wasn't something where he was a dad and he wasn't, you know, someone as an, because what happens is whenever someone who is not invested in you in that level gives you insight, you go, oh, thank you so much. But then the parent can give the exact same language and they go, there's my parent getting on me again. But the other person, psychologically, the kids see that. There's a study that was done like this. They see it as like, this person isn't even my family. They must care about me enough to give me this insight. This is great. So it came from the right kind of person who had no tie to me. Like I literally just a dude in a golf cart running around campus, you know. But it gave me this like, wow, maybe it's possible. And that little seed was something that over time I questioned, like, is it? What does it look like? What do I got to do? And I would work towards being whatever I could to be the best I could. And maybe it was a possibility. And then lo and behold, over the years, it was. I was the first person like 10 years out of my high school to go to the NFL. And that was one of the big moments was that guy. And where I remember where we were sitting when he said it to me. He forgot saying it. I saw him years later. He's like, I don't remember saying that. I'm like, well, I promise you did. You know, but there are people that will speak life into you. And when they do, you should inhale it and try to live into that if it's possible.
I love that. And it's such a good reminder that we could do that for others, right? Just liberally sprinkle words of life into other people's lives. So thank you.
Much so. Welcome.
I always think it's hilarious when you get a life lesson and you bring it up to the person who gave it to you and they have no clue. My grandmother's done it to me. My dad's done it to me. Different people in my life. And they were like so big. I thought they guided their life on these principles. You know? Yeah, and like I set my torch towards it, and all of a sudden it's like something that just like winged one day.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, I was just drunk." But no, I don't judge me. Like, there's just things that people. I say it too, and I don't recall 100% saying it, but I say things all the time. Like, no offense, but like, I'm not going to remember this conversation in a year, let alone 6 months. But that's not. I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just there's so many conversations going. But I think all of us have a purpose in some manner to be someone to someone. You live your life, you cross, you may have this one thought or a seed that you're supposed to get because you didn't all have to be here. You could have made crazy excuses as to why not to be here, but you came here and maybe it was a time to get one thought that maybe I didn't share. Maybe someone in the chat just said something like, oh, great idea, right? But I think that's how life kind of works. There's an amazing plan for it. And then I think we mess it up in ways. But if you just show up for life, man, usually life's an amazing class that teaches great lessons you can reapply later on. Just got to show up for it.
And this is recorded, so we can re-listen to this conversation 10 times, so we don't have to forget any of this. I'm going to give Tom the last question, but very quickly, what's the one best way we can continue to support you? You poured into us this hour.
Instagram, man. If you go to Instagram and pay attention, I'll follow me along. I'm not that guy that's like, go here and download this amazing thing. Like, we do have stuff, but if you find it, you'll find it because you want to find it. So follow me on Instagram. I do all my stuff there and post videos and content and podcasts and stuff. And if I can be of any help, just send a message.
All right. We're 60 seconds. Tom, last question.
Yeah, I just was going to say, it's got background to it and a little more in depth. So I was watching the clock and realized, well, okay. I'll pass.
Do you have another minute or two?
I got time. After this, I'm going to get a lift in, which I can get my lift in. I have it set for 90 minutes. It takes me like 45 to 50. So I have a couple minutes. I'll be fine.
All right. I can tell that, highly studied person. So somewhere along your path, you've run into that study talked about where kids got put in a room, and it was the self-control,
the cookie,
delayed gratification. The candy, if you can get, and you'll get more,
in 5 minutes.
Right. And so there's the group that has it
Yeah.
And these are little kids, right? So they've, it's developed, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the group that struggles, impulse control, things like that. And so I was just wondering, as you've done your work, you've had your life experience and all the circles you've done. I work in the neurodiversity space. And so I work a lot with the adults, and I am one who were the impulse control issues.
Oh, same here.
Right.
100%.
So many things that started, stopped, didn't get researched well, all that stuff. So I'm wondering, relative to, we all don't necessarily have an innate spark to just seek and find the self-control to get it done. Could you just speak to that for just a moment?
Yeah. I was not allowed. So I was like, you heard of the GATE program? You guys heard of that? Like the GATE program was the kids that were smart when they were in school. And I tested into it, but wasn't allowed because I was like a risk. I was an issue. Like I was all over the place, bugging kids and causing craziness. I wasn't allowed to go camping in the 6th grade, like camping trip, because I was a flight risk. I hadn't even gotten in trouble. They're just like, we can't bring this dude to the woods. He ain't going to make it back. Like dude's a wild ball. I got like 16 fights my senior or 6th grade. Like I was a crazy little kid. And I'm the kid that if you put me in front of like, here's a piece of candy. I'm gonna be back in 5 minutes. And if you don't eat it, it'll be 2. I would have ate it before you left the room fully. Like I would have done, right? And really that study was done to show, like, extrapolating this, the kids that are able to wait, they're going to be more successful. I'm like, well, I don't fit that box. And my wife and I were just talking about this yesterday of like the idea of like nature versus nurture. And I'm a guy that believes that you have a human nature, but I think a lot of who we are, it's dependent upon how we are nurtured, how we're taught, the environmental situations we go into. The one that saved me that was necessary was football. And I'm not saying it because it was like I played football and I want to protect it. I look at the base of who I am as a human and I go, I needed an outlet to release aggression as a little crazy, crazy. I had to have it. So I gave it out and I could go and hit and run and get tired. And I would come home tired. And then when I was tired, I was under more self-control. But also, it's a lot of studies, but I think Dr. John Rady, it's a book called Spark, talks a lot about movement and everything. It helps the brain release BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which allows it to have the ability to memorize and controls your serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, right? All these different parts of you, but it comes from movement. So it actually is really well used as a treatment for ADD and ADHD, which I had. And so I realized that football gave me that, but it also gave me this thing to where I got a sense of pride from doing something hard, and I got positive feedback from people that were around me, my tribe. So I would do something and I would get praise. And when you do something that you get praise for, you like doing more and more of it. So that place, it saved me because I didn't want to fall out of the praise of the people that I was around. So I would not get in trouble, not do drugs, not drink, I would do these things that would keep me in that good standing there. And it also became an outlet. So as the years have gone by, my wife, for example, has ADD for sure. Like first, she'll ask me questions and I'll be answering a question within 3 seconds. She's on to something new. I'm like, bro, this is crazy tracking your brain right now. And the thing for her is she wasn't subject to the same thing after high school. In high school, she did soccer. After that, nothing really. So for her, she's kind of been left unchecked for all these years of just, she's all over the place. I've learned to dance with the wave. It's kind of how I've navigated this relationship, and it works well because I know how to like, all right, she's not doing it intentionally. It's just her brain sucks like that. And maybe it doesn't suck, but it's weird in those moments. But the idea is like, I understand that I'm different because I taught myself how to be able to control my impulses through football, because I have to do that and go sit in a room for 2 hours and watch a screen with no sound and have someone talk. And I just sit there because if I didn't, I'd get in trouble, all these things. And then over time, I learned I go internal very often, meaning I'll be in public and I'll have no phone. I'll be staring off into space. What you don't know is I'm asking myself a million questions of why is a tree like that? What's that bird doing? What color is it? What's that noise? What's that person's shoes? And so I'm in here so active that I look super calm on the outside. I just learned to go here with it, but it was a practice thing that allowed me to be able to have a control of my impulses. And over time, it's been beneficial because I go into rooms with really incredible, like I was with 2-star generals at Amazon a few weeks back. I can't be in that room and not be focused or paying attention and be all over the place, or I won't be in the room, But it also gives me the ability to have creative thoughts and out of the box kind of concepts and ideas that are beneficial to people that are opposite of me. So I definitely get where you're at. I just have learned to kind of massage it in some. It's a useful tool now.
Excellent. Thank you kindly for that.
Yeah, very welcome.
Everyone on mute. We're going to give Anthony a round of applause after 3, 2, 1. So everyone on mute, unmute. 3, 2, 1. Amazing, bro.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
spending time
Thank
with
you.
us. We'll see everybody next week, and
Very
we'll
welcome. Take
talk
care,
to you
all.
soon.
Thank
Peace.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Anthony.